Hey everyone, this is quite a last minute video. It wasn't the video I was planning on putting up today. I was originally planning on putting up my July wrap up. That's gonna come later in the week instead. I have been planning this video for about a day now and I wasn't sure when I was gonna get to film it because I'm going to be talking about the cursed child and I needed my house to be free of people that didn't want spoilers. I'm taking my opportunity to do it now. You may also notice that I'm in a different place than I normally am. I'm normally over there. I quite like it here though. I might stay here from now on. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on the cursed child and maybe give a slightly different perspective than a lot of people have been given. The first half of this video will be spoiler free and the second half won't be. Obviously do a warning for when I'm going to start talking about spoilers. I actually made some very rough notes and incoherent notes. So the reason I think I can give a slightly alternative opinion to a lot of the ones that are going around at the minute on BookTube is because I haven't read the play yet, but I have seen it. I was very fortunate and was able to go see the play. I think it must be almost 2 weeks ago now. Before I jump into what I thought of the play, I just want to acknowledge I am very privileged on so many levels for being able to go see the play. I am privileged in that I live on the landmass which it was being shown on. I am privileged in that I was able to combine birthday and Christmas presents and be able to afford tickets, and I was privileged enough to have someone that would put me up just outside London for free. I understand that the theatre in general is a very privileged thing, and I do think it's unfortunate that not everyone is able to experience what I experienced, and I do hope that there will be a DVD released of the play so that it can give you to a certain extent that kind of experience. So yeah, I absolutely love the play. I thought it was just incredible. It was insane. It was one of the best things that I've ever watched, just like ever. We were sat in our seats, which were really good seats. I'm really lucky that we got such good ones. And my boyfriend was all like, oh, people are going to be crying and I don't know if I can be bothered with that. And I was like, no, I don't think anyone's going to cry. I don't think it's going to be that sad. I was certain that I wasn't going to cry. I didn't think it would be that bad. Ron and Harry come out at kind of the same time and I just start floods of tears. It was just too much for me. And then Hermione came out and I was gone. I was a mess. That was the first time I cried. I think over the 2 plays I must have cried about 6 more times maybe. It was just so ridiculous. Like nothing had even happened, nothing had been said, and I was just bawling. I thought the entire thing was phenomenal. It was incredible. I thought the acting was insanely good. I thought that all of the actors really captured the characters. There were 1 or 2 that I wasn't quite sure if it sat perfectly with me, but that's to be understood, especially since in the cursed child there are so many alterations in the sense of, first of all, it's 19 years later, so obviously the characters are going to have changed and circumstances change. Not going to be exactly like they were when they were 18 or whatever age that particular character was at the time. I thought Hermione was incredible. I thought Harry was so spot on. And I thought Ron was spot on. The staging and the choreography and the effects were incredible. At the back of the physical script of The Cursed Child, all the names of the people involved are listed, and I think it is really good to just read over them and acknowledge all of the incredible work that went into the script and the staging and everything, the acting. It was all fantastic. This might sound really ridiculous, but I didn't expect there to be that much magic in it. Like, that's one of the things I'm hearing from a lot of people who have just read the script, that they don't understand how the magic's gonna be done. I don't understand how it was done either. It was insane. I thought there would be like maybe some light effects and some like wind effects or something. I just didn't expect there to be a level of magic that was just insanely good, where I was just like, I don't know how they've done that. And I know a lot of people are saying things like this is just a money grabbing opportunity. It's fair enough if you think that, but all of the incredible people that put so much time and effort into creating this play deserve a tremendous amount of success and reward for all of the hard work that they've put in. Personally, I think my tickets were worth every penny. I would do it again in a heartbeat, but I'm in a remarkably privileged position to be able to say that. Like, all of the actors were insanely good. Is any of this coherent? Am I going in any logical structure here? I thought all of the new characters were great. I'm sure you've heard it everywhere, but Scorpius, holy shit, fucking hell. Scorpius, like, skyrocketed within like 2 lines to being one of my favourite Harry Potter characters ever, and by the end of the play, he was just one of my favourite characters of all time. I've never had such an instantaneous attachment to a character before. I thought he was fantastic, and Anthony Boyle, who plays him, was insanely good. It was incredibly funny. I was very surprised by how funny the play was. So that, like, there were a lot of very funny characters and very funny lines. And I suppose now I'm kind of moving towards talking about some of the things that people have critiqued the actual script for. I don't think there's going to be any spoilers in the next couple sentences. I will warn you if I go into something spoilery. One of the things I've heard is that a lot of the lines are tacky and cheesy. That doesn't come across on stage. They come across philosophical and profound. And I think some of the ones that come across as cheesy come across as jokes on stage. They come across as very funny lines from very joking and funny characters. There is one line in particular which is one of my favourite lines of the play that I can remember, that I think on paper would come across as very tacky and cheesy, but on stage was brilliant. And I think we need to keep reminding ourselves with The Cursed Child that plays do exist to be watched. And I know the majority of people, unfortunately, will not be able to get to the theatre production of this. I understand that. Hopefully there will be more adaptations of it and more stage productions of it, and as I said, I definitely think it would be a fantastic idea for there to be a DVD produced of the stage show in the Palace Theatre. Plays do exist to be watched, and a script isn't as detailed as a novel would be, and I think people went into the play script with novel expectations. I think one of the things we need to remember is that when a play is released, when the script of a play is released, it's not normally at this level of popularity and immediate scrutiny and critique. I'm by no means saying that the people that have a problem with this play aren't used to reading plays, although I think some of them may not be used to reading plays. But I think a lot of people went into it with the expectation of having as much detail as you would in a novel, having as much internal thought, having as much detail on surroundings and world building and little gestures that the characters might do. You have to remember that in a script, the actors are given a lot of wiggle room to do what they want with it. So while you might think something like, oh, Ron would never say that, that's ridiculous, if it's said in a certain tone of voice with a certain body language, it makes sense. As I said, I haven't read this yet, so I'm just going on what I know from watching the play itself, which was one of the best experiences that I've had in my entire life. I think now would possibly be a good point to say goodbye if you are worried about spoilers, so let me just leave you with the knowledge that the stage show was phenomenal. It was fantastic. The acting was flawless, and it was utterly brilliant. Okay, so into spoilery stuff. Another one of the critiques I've heard is that the plot lines were unbelievable and ridiculous, and that they were juggling too much. Personally, yeah, I think they might have been juggling a few too many things. The time travel and alterations to the character's current timeline was a little bit hard to follow it sometimes, and sometimes I did get a little bit muddled up. But overall, I thought it was fine. I'm not sure why people think it's so ridiculous. I'm not sure why people think it is ridiculous that Voldemort would have had a child with Bellatrix. I don't find that ridiculous at all. I think everything made sense and was perfectly plausible. Obviously, if you're reading the play, you're able to pay a little bit closer attention to these things, so maybe there were things that I didn't quite catch on to while I was watching it, and when I do read it, maybe I will feel differently about that. Another thing I have heard is that it is being criticised for being like fan fiction and being full of fan fiction tropes. I can see where that does come from. Obviously time travel is something that is used in fan fiction quite a lot to create AUs or alternate universes, but the reason that's done is because it's interesting. There's a very valid reason for doing that, and narratively it makes sense. It's an interesting avenue to explore it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Maybe, just maybe, the people that write fan fiction aren't idiots and have actually got intelligent thoughts on ways to explore this universe. One of the criticisms that I definitely agree with is that there was no LGBT plus representation in the play, which I'm really disappointed about, which was something I thought when I saw the play. I didn't understand why there didn't just happen to be two of the extras that were a same-sex couple, or any canonically and important LGBT plus characters. I didn't understand that. I think J.K. Rowling has missed an opportunity again. Personally, I don't think that the LGBT couple should have been Albus and Scorpius. I think, one, the people that are whining about it being like fan fiction would be doing it a lot more if Albus and Scorpius were canonically together. In saying that though, I don't understand why their love interests were relevant at all. I don't understand why we needed to know that Scorpius has a crush on Rose and that Albus was attracted to Delphi. I don't understand why that needed to be included, and I don't think it should have been, because it closed off that way of interpreting their characters. So personally, I did kind of see Scorpius as maybe a bisexual character, but that's probably me projecting. Another thing that I've seen a lot of people complaining about is the alterations to Hermione's character once time has been meddled in. So rather than becoming Minister for Magic, she becomes a bit of a grouchy school teacher. And people see that as a result of her no longer being married to Ron and no longer having children. And I don't think that's the case. I think that's not considering the huge effects of time travel, which is one of the things that is trying to be conveyed through the story. Don't meddle with the past, because the tiniest thing can have massive consequences. Hermione not becoming Minister for Magic isn't necessarily a direct result of her not marrying Ron and not having children. It could be as a result of her not having Ron as her main support network after going through a very traumatic experience. Women do not need men to succeed, but people need the people they love to succeed. I imagine Ron was a huge source of support for Hermione and vice versa after the Battle of Hogwarts and dealing with each other's trauma, because no doubt everyone who's involved in that battle would be suffering from trauma. If she didn't have that, or to the same extent, I imagine that would affect her success in the future. Perhaps her parents were instrumental in her being able to become Minister for Magic. Perhaps they were a huge driving force and source of support for her, and perhaps Ron was a big part of her being able to find her parents again. If he wasn't involved in that in the alternate universe, I think it's perfectly understandable that she may have not become Minister for Magic. I think saying that what happened to Hermione is a result of her not being married to Ron is reductive, and you've not thought about it enough. Perhaps my opinions will change once I look at the text on its own, although I will never be able to separate it from the stage production that I saw. Obviously, one of the things that I was massively blown away by when I saw the play was the magic. It was insanely good, as I've said previously. And when analysing the text itself and the actual plotline, magic shouldn't be something I'm impressed by, because magic just exists in this world. But this does exist to be a play. It does exist to be performed. So I do think it's relevant. Another thing I wanted to mention was, yes, this wasn't written by J.K. Rowling. It was written by Jack Thorne. And a lot of people are saying that's the problem they had with it, that Jack Thorne wasn't able to get into the mind of these characters 100%, and I don't think it would be right to expect him to know them as well as J.K. Rowling does, obviously. But I'm pretty sure that J.K. Rowling got to read over the script and got to give it the go-ahead and was able to fix anything that wasn't quite right. If you've got a problem with how this is written, you need to put some of the blame on J.K. Rowling. But in saying that, I don't think there was anything wrong with how it was written, so you can't expect the same level of internal understanding or detail from a play script that you can with a novel. I promise you that on stage I thought every character from the original series was perfect. There were a few little things, like I wasn't quite sure about Snape and I wasn't quite sure about Draco, but I think it's near impossible to have an accurate prediction of how Draco would have developed after the war. It's so weird because fundamentally I just don't understand a lot of the complaints that people have with the Cursed Child. I think it was incredible. It was phenomenal. That's the word I keep coming back to. It's phenomenal. It was wonderful to be back in the Harry Potter universe and to meet these characters all over again and meet new characters. It was amazing. It was beautiful and it was really good. It was really good. I also think it's incredible that this play will also be the first theatre experience for a lot of people of all ages. I really think this play is going to inspire a whole host of new theatre lovers, and that is utterly fantastic. I'm not sure what else to say about it really. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Plays do exist to be watched. I think that's what I'm going to finish up with. I'm going to finish up with plays exist to be watched, so cut the script a little bit of slack. Also, Scorpius Malfoy, holy shit. Scorpius Malfoy, literally like one of my favourite characters ever. So yeah, I have rambled on for far too long now. Do be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said. I would ask that maybe at the top of your comments to leave a little warning if there are spoilers in it, or you can just get in touch with me on Twitter. That works as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I would love to continue the conversation somewhere else because I do think it's very healthy to think critically about these things, and I love doing it anyway. So yeah, be sure to get in touch if you fancy it.